All right, everybody, we are back for week 2 of Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series predictions on the channel. Obviously, if you're watching this at the point where I upload it, week 1 hasn't taken place. It takes place tomorrow night. The weigh-ins are probably just starting or about to start for week 1, but we're going to get ahead of the game and we're going to kick it off with week 2. I'd like to keep these videos between 20 and 25 minutes. I don't feel like we have to have them be too long for the Contender because some of the fights are straightforward and some of them are a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit in between. But yeah, so we've got a fight in the middleweight, a bantamweight, heavyweight, featherweight, and 2 featherweight fights actually. The main and the co-main event for Contender, I guess you could say, are both at 145 pounds, but pretty decent fights on week 2. I feel like week 1 probably has a little bit better of fights compared to week 2. But yeah, I mean, let's kick it off with the first fight up. We have a return to the Contender Series from Cam Rouston, fighting out of Australia, New Zealand. I believe he trains out of City Kickboxing. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But he's coming in 11-3, taking on Brandon Holmes, who is at 5 wins, no losses. Now, if you know Cam Rouston was on the Contender, he actually lost to Torres Finney. Just getting taken down, getting controlled. Landed some good shots on the feet using his long, rangy striking. I mean, Finney doesn't really have much striking at all aside from a jab and an overhand. I'm not a fan of Torres Finney. I picked him both times on the Contender, but I don't think he'll have much success in the UFC. I don't care if he beat Robert Valentin. But, you know, at first I thought Holmes was just a guy to get Rouston back on the Contender, get him a win, and get him into the UFC. But I don't know, man. Holmes is actually pretty decent. He is primarily fights out of southpaw, but he will switch stances between orthodox southpaw, you know, move laterally, switch, move back the other way, switch, switching on the lateral movement. He's very lead hand heavy. That's one thing I did notice. Big left hooks, big right hooks. Mainly the power is going to come from that lead right hook. And he tries to just draw the opponent in and then snipe them on the way in with that little turnover of the hip. Basically like a check hook, but instead of using it to cut an angle, he'll just stay on the center line. So he'll kind of walk you in, jab, jab, you come in, boom, just turn that hook over. Jab, jab, boom, turn that hook over, and then a low kick. And then turn the hook over and a body kick. And he's kind of a meat and potatoes striker, but he has decent takedown defense, and I think Cam Rouston, for the most part, I think he's going to look to grapple here. I expect him to feint up top, change levels, get takedowns, get on top, try to use that long, lanky frame, beat him up with ground and pound, potentially lock in the body triangle for control, and then just wear him out until he eventually gets a ground and pound TKO, probably from the mount or the flattened out back mount, or beats him up with some ground and pound until he's able to attack his neck and probably lock up a submission, I would guess, in the second or the third round. I think Holmes has decent takedown defense, but again, I feel like Rouston probably will be able to chain wrestle, and that will eventually get Holmes down. I think if he goes from the single to the double to the body lock, then the chain wrestling and starting at the hips, working your way up to the body and using the body lock, I think that'll work a little bit better for a guy who's as long as Cam Rouston. So I think this is a closer fight than people are going to be expecting. I see on Tapology a lot of people are picking Holmes, so they're clearly favoring him. I think this is a close fight. I think the grappling and the top control time probably goes to Rouston. I also don't love the fact that Rouston uses that tall man defense. I feel like the power of Holmes are mainly why people are picking him. That lead hand, the check hook, the 1-2, like I said, very basic combos, but basic combos are very important, especially in MMA striking. And that check hook might catch Rouston coming in. I would not be surprised if he walked in and got clipped and got dropped, but I'm going to go with the approach that Rouston fights smart, and he might get clipped up like in the first round, but I think he's eventually going to get in on the hips of Holmes. I think he's eventually going to get those takedowns. He's going to get on top. He's going to beat him up from the top, and he's going to lock up a submission. So I'm going to take Cam Rouston to make good on his second Contender Series appearance. And I'm going to say he wins second round rear naked choke submission. I just think eventually he'll get in on Holmes. He'll take him down. Holmes is going to have a hard time getting up. I don't think he'll have an easy time taking him down. I think he'll get beat up a little bit in round 1. I'd say Holmes probably wins round 1, but he'll eventually get taken down, turn around, or turn to get up, give up his back. He'll get touched up with some ground and pound and eventually submitted. So give me Cam Rouston. But again, this is a close fight. I'm not 100% on this one, but I'm going to lean slightly towards the better grappler in Rouston to win. Give me Cam Rouston, round 2, rear naked choke submission. I think he takes his back, tires him out, and subs him. Up next, we've got a battle in the bantamweight division between Louis Lee Scott, coming in at 9-0, undefeated, taking on Kaushik Sycamore, coming in also undefeated at 5-0. So we've got Sycamore versus Louis Lee Scott. Yeah, this is a tough fight to call. This is probably one of the more competitive fights on this week of the Contender Series. I think Louis Lee Scott is going to be the fighter who has a little bit more volume. I feel like Sycamore is a solid striker. He trains under 50-50 Ryan Hall, so we know that he has good jiu-jitsu. We know he has a good ground game. He's good off of his back. He'll hunt for leg locks. He's really good at taking the back, and that's the one thing I don't love from Louis Lee Scott, is that he does give up grappling positions. He does give up takedowns, but he tends to work his way back up to the feet. He tends to have decent ability to get up, has a good get-up game, I guess you could say, work his way up to the fence, turn off, and get back to the center, pop some jabs, pop some 1-2s, and I like the volume of Louis Lee Scott. I think he has much more volume than Sycamore on the feet. I think Sycamore has decent kicks. He's got solid low kicks, solid kicks to the body. He kind of has that Muay Thai march, like the Thai march style on the feet, where he'll walk forward and just kind of lift his leg up, have a light lead leg to check the kicks. And I also think he does that in order to kind of bait the opponent into feinting high and then shooting a takedown so that he can sprawl and spin and take the back and then work his bread and butter, which is primarily the jiu-jitsu. But, yeah, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I think a lot of people might come in and completely discredit this guy, say that he doesn't have the skills, he shouldn't be on the Contender. I actually think he's pretty decent. He has solid striking, but I don't love the lack of volume. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, he's much better with the kicks than he is with his punches. I've seen him hurt guys with knees inside the clinch. I saw him lose 2 rounds in CFFC and then come back in the 3rd round, land a big knee in the clinch, and then knock the opponent out. So we know that he can come back from adversity. He's long, he's lanky. He uses his long, lanky frame to his advantage in a way. But Louis Lee Scott is a guy who I don't love him either. I think he can get taken down. I think Sycamore has the better grappling. But I do think Louis Lee Scott is just going to be the fighter who pushes a higher pace in this fight. He might get caught up in some positions, but I'm going to venture to say he probably works his way out of some submissions and gets back up to the feet. And I like the way that he switches stances. But again, when he switches, he kind of squares up his hips, and that could lead him to get caught down the middle. That could lead him to get caught with a kick. I don't love fighters who switch stances and then kind of square up in between the stance switch. I feel like that's where Sycamore could maybe draw him in and land a knee to the body, or draw him in and land a big shot down the middle as he squares up, just throwing that straight shot down the middle and knocking him out. That would not surprise me, but I just think in this fight, Louis Lee Scott is going to be the fighter who pushes a higher pace, and I think that higher pace is what is going to win him this fight. I feel like he will throw more volume than Sycamore. He'll work his way back up. When he works his way back up, I think he's going to be throwing a lot of volume. He'll switch, stance switch, combination, stance switch, combination, stance switch, combination, stance switch, combination, and he'll mix it up just a lot more than Sycamore. I think Sycamore is more disciplined in his approach, which could work in a lot of ways. Maybe Scott just walks in and switches stance on the wrong angle and gets caught up in a body lock and gets his back taken and gets submitted. I think if Sycamore wins, it's by submission. I know he's got KOs, but I think if he wins, he's going to be able to compete in the grappling. He's going to be able to win in advantageous position and probably look to take the back of Louis Lee Scott and then submit him. But I'm going to say Scott is able to, yes, I think he's going to get taken down, but I think he's going to use the cage to get back up. I think he's going to control the center of the cage, and I just don't like the lack of urgency from Sycamore, and I feel like that plays into the game of Ryan Hall, where they're so relaxed, they're so calm, they're so ready to go. And yes, that can cause you to see shots and move out of the way and slip and counter, but it also forces you to have kind of a lack of volume, and that's really what I see. I think the volume, the combinations, the stance changes, the punches finishing off with a kick, the kicks finishing off with the punches. I think the activity of Louis Lee Scott is what's going to win him this fight. So I could see a late TKO from Louis Lee here, but I'm going to say this fight actually goes the distance. I'm going to say that the volume striking of Louis Lee Scott, the overall output and the volume he's able to put out on the feet is going to win him at least 2 rounds in this fight. I think he'll get caught in a bad spot on the ground. I think he'll get controlled for a certain portion. I think he'll get put in a submission, but he'll get out. He might give up some control time, but overall, he's going to be the more active fighter. He's going to have more output, and he's going to be the busier fighter over 15 minutes, and I think that's what's going to give him the win. So I could see a late second, third round TKO for Louis Lee Scott just by tiring out Sycamore and kind of overwhelming him with the volume. But I'm going to say he just wins 2 out of the 3 rounds. It does go the distance, and he ends up getting the nod on the scorecard. So give me Louis Lee Scott to win 29-28 unanimous decision. I think he pulls out 2 out of 3 rounds, and he's just more active over 15 minutes. All right, next fight up is in the heavyweight division. You have a battle between Josh Hokit, who comes in with a record of 5-0, taking on Guilherme Uriel, who comes back with a record of 6-1. I'm going to be honest. I think the better striker in this fight is Uriel. Like, he's going to be the much better striker on the feet. He's going to have the better combinations. He's going to use the long, straight technical punches, finish his combinations with kicks, and do the things you would expect from a better striker. But I just don't think he's going to be able to stop the wrestling of Josh Hokit. I really don't, and I don't want to sit here and give you this long, drawn-out breakdown, but here's the deal. If he stops the takedowns, if he keeps it on the feet, I think Uriel wins, and he probably finishes him in the second or third round. He's got better combinations. He's got better striking combinations overall, finishes the punches with the kicks, goes from the kicks to the punches, is decent in the clinch, but he has also been knocked out himself. I expect Hokit to use what he's used in almost all of his fights, which is to push forward, shoot in on a takedown, get this dude down, beat him up on the ground, and finish him off. Now, if it stays on the feet, I do give the advantage to Uriel. I mean, I already said that, and that's kind of the way that this fight breakdown is going to go. I think on the feet, Uriel wins. If it stays on the feet for the majority of the fight, I think Uriel wins 9 out of 10 times. If it goes to the ground, I think 10 out of 10 times Josh Hokit eventually finishes off Uriel. He's just a heavy wrestler, and in the heavyweight division, if you have really solid wrestling, it'll take you very far, because a lot of heavyweights aren't used to getting taken down, wrestled, and grappled. I mean, in the new age, in this age of MMA, I think it's much more likely that they're going to get taken down, they're going to be on their back, but a lot of heavyweights aren't on their back, and I think in this case, we're going to see Hokit touch gloves, move around, throw a big right hand, shoot a takedown, get Uriel down. I think he gets on top of him, lands a bunch of ground and pound, gets into the mount, beats him up with some more ground and pound, flattens him out, and finishes him off in round 1. I mean, that's really what I see. I don't want to sit here and waste your time with a long breakdown when it doesn't have to be. I think Hokit's the better wrestler. I think he's going to showcase that in this fight, and I think he's going to take down Uriel, get on top, ground and pound, flatten him out on the top, and then ground and pound TKO in round 1. Give me Josh Hokit round 1, ground and pound TKO. I just think the wrestling is going to be way too much for a guy like Uriel, and this guy's going to come out and look for that finish in round 1. If we get to round 2, I would live bet Uriel, because if he's somewhat coherent, he might finish off Josh Hokit. I just don't think it's going to happen. So give me Josh Hokit round 1 TKO, gets in on a takedown, gets this guy to the ground, and beats him up and wins the fight. Pick is Josh Hokit, round 1, ground and pound TKO. Right, next up, we've got a battle in the featherweight division between Romero Jimenez taking on Tommy Kawase. Both undefeated. You have Kawase coming in 8 wins, no losses. You have Jimenez coming in 10 wins, no losses. 18-0 combined record, and I think we're definitely getting a finish in this fight. So when I look at the fight stylistically, Kawase, from what I've seen, and it's not much, I'm going to be honest, it's very hard to find tape on this Tommy Kawase guy. But a lot of the things that I've seen, he's kind of just coming forward, taking these guys down, bum rushing them, beating them up on the ground, and either submitting them or just ground and pound TKOing them. He can hurt people on the feet. I've seen him stun people with a couple shots and a couple knees inside the clinch. But for the most part, this guy's a grappler. He's going to look to come forward. He's going to look to take his opponent down, get in the top position, land some ground and pound, and then look to submit him or just stay on top until the ref pulls him off and beat him up with ground and pound. The guy is a finisher. The guy is a front runner. The one thing I did find interesting about Kawase is before he became a pro, where he's 8-0, he actually lost 4 fights in a row as an amateur. He lost via rear naked choke, decision, guillotine choke, and another decision. But before he had those losses, he actually won 5 fights in a row. But he went right from the amateurs to the pros in 2019. Then he took a year, 2 years off, about a year and a half, came back in 2021, rattled off 3 fights in 2021, 2 fights in 2022, 1 fight in 2023, and then he's had 3 fights in 2024 and 2 in 2025. So, or I'm sorry, 1 fight in 2025 and 2 fights in 2024. So this guy, like, he finishes his fights pretty quick. I mean, 56 seconds, round 1. A minute 38 seconds, round 1. Minute 16 into round 2. Rear naked choke, 3 minutes into round 1. 30-second ref stoppage from strikes in round 1. I just really think this guy hasn't fought any type of adversity. And that's the thing that really, really goes against me picking little T, Tommy Kawazi. Like, yeah, he's got good wrestling. He's probably going to have a grappling advantage here. But from what I've seen from Romero Jimenez, I think he's the much better fighter. I really do. I think he's clean on the feet. He's pretty technical. He picks his shots. He uses a long, lanky frame with his striking. Good jabs, good 1-2 straight punches. Mixes up some hooks. He throws some kicks to the body. He can catch you with head kicks. And he's not afraid to grapple. Like, if Kawazi had a big advantage on the ground, I think that you could make this a case for him to win this fight. But I think Jimenez, I mean, he got taken down in a reversed position with a Kimura and submitted his opponent. He's gotten on top and gotten rear naked chokes. I mean, this guy will go for submissions. He is competent on the ground, and he has decent enough scrambles to where even if Kawazi does get a takedown, I think Jimenez probably hip heists, gets up to a hip, shrimps out, and works his way back up to the feet, whether it's in the middle of the cage or using the octagon side and using the cage to get back up. I think he'll be able to get back up, and I think on the feet, I really don't think there's much competition besides the fact that I do think Kawazi has power. So if Kawazi catches him with a big shot and rocks Jimenez, I think maybe he could put him away. Or if he hurts him and forces him to shoot and he submits him, I get it. I think there is a slight advantage on the grappling for Kawazi. I think he's going to look to wrestle early. I don't necessarily think it's going to be that successful of a game plan. I just think the more well-rounded fighter is Romero Jimenez. He looks better to me on the feet. He looks more composed. He looks like he picks his shots better. He looks like he's more relaxed, which I said, it can be a problem when you're too relaxed because you can just stand there and get hit and not have enough volume. But Jimenez looks like the type of calculated relaxation where he's relaxed, but he's willing to come back and fire combinations. He's looking for good counters. And I like the shots that he picks. I feel like he's very intelligent with the shots that he picks on the feet, whether it's the straight punches, whether it's the shots to the body, whether it's the head kicks. I mean, knowing that the opponent's going to crouch down, he'll feint, throw a head kick, could potentially catch the opponent. I think Kawazi probably gets 1 takedown, looks for a sub, maybe lands some ground and pound, has a little bit of control time, and then I think Jimenez gets up, and I think Jimenez just slowly breaks him. And I think in round 2, he's going to just be outstriking him and eventually put him away. I think the long, rangy punches, the 1-2s, I think the kicks to the body are going to be good. I think he's going to use that check hook and circle off. And I think the 1-2s down the middle and just the mixing up of the weapons on the feet is going to be too much for Kawazi, who isn't going to have as much success with his original game plan as he has had in other fights. So I think round 1 maybe a little bit close. Kawazi gets a little bit of control time, goes for submissions. It doesn't work. Jimenez works back up, starts to get the timing on the takedowns, stuffs the takedowns, and just picks apart Kawazi on the feet. So give me Romero Jimenez, round 2 TKO. I think probably midpoint of the second round, he'll eventually start to just pick him apart, see the takedowns coming, stuff the takedowns, strike off the break after he stuffs the takedowns, and land a big right hand down the middle and knock his opponent out. So my pick is Romero Jimenez, round 2 TKO over Tommy Kawazi. All right. Last fight up, the main event for week 2. Again, in the featherweight division, you have a battle between Manuel Exposito, who's 13-2, taking on Jose Delano, who's 15-3. Delano, out of his 15 wins, he's got 9 wins by finish, 6 wins by decision. For Manuel Exposito, 13 wins, 2 losses. He's got 10 wins by finish, 7 by way of submission, and 3 wins by decision. I think this fight is a pretty decent main event. I've seen Exposito, I looked into him, and I was a little bit surprised that he got the call to be on the Contender Series. I'm going to be honest with you. Not that he doesn't have a good record. 13-2. That's an impressive record as a pro, no matter what sport you're in, especially in combat sports. But this guy on the feet, he gets hit so much. Like, it boggles my mind how much this guy gets hit with punches. He has that high guard kind of shells up. He's a little bit shorter of a fighter, so he'll kind of keep that high guard, fingertips on the eyebrows and kind of get, shell up and take the shots. I think against a fighter like Jose Delano, that is a terrible idea. I think Delano is way better on the feet. I think Delano can compete on the ground with Exposito, but I do think the advantage comes on the ground. Delano, like I said, 15-3. He's got 5 wins by submission, only been submitted 1 time. With Exposito, 13-2. He's been knocked out once, never submitted. So 1 loss by finish. It was by knockout. I think he gets knocked out again here. I just think Delano on the feet is so much better. And it's not like he just runs forward and lands big punches and kicks. He picks his shots. He moves on angles well. He pops the jab. He throws the 1-2. He throws the check hook. He mixes up his kicks. He has solid takedown defense. He also has jiu-jitsu in his own right. I mean, the guy can go for submissions of his own as well, so he's not afraid to go to the ground. I think the only way Exposito wins this fight is if Delano continually makes the mistake of giving his back up, whether it's on the feet or on the ground, and allows for Exposito to put that body triangle in and control him. I think a lot of the win equity for Exposito is winning a decision based on control time or controlling on the ground, softening up Delano, and then eventually getting a sub late in the second or in the third round. That's really what I see. And I know this guy, can get knockouts, but he's mainly a submission merchant. Like, he's looking to get you on the ground. He's looking to make you shoot a bad takedown and grab your neck and submit you. And, maybe he could catch Delano with a big shot, and then he forces a shot out of him and jumps on a guillotine. But, this guy's pretty much a grappler or bust, and he's very good at controlling. He's very good with his positional awareness, but I don't think he has the best takedowns, and I think it's going to be hard to get in on a guy like Delano who uses his length, who uses his reach, who switches stances, who throws long combinations and uses long weapons like the jab, like the 1-2, like the body kick, like the head kick. And Exposito, like I said, he gets hit so much. It's crazy to me that this guy gets hit as much as he does. He doesn't move his head. He keeps his head on the center line, and straight punches catch this guy all night. I mean, just from what I've seen on tape, this guy gets hit a lot. He doesn't move his head. And with a guy who's as powerful as Delano, who mixes up the weapons like Delano, and who has decent enough grappling in Delano to where I think it's not going to be super easy for Exposito to get him down, I got to go Jose Delano. I mean, what are we doing here? I think Manuel Exposito is good, but I think it's going to be hard to get the fight where he needs it to be. And I think Delano is going to beat this guy up. And Delano went to the 3rd round with Gabriel Santos, and it was a close, competitive fight. And yeah, he got finished, but I'm pretty high on Gabriel Santos. I think that guy's pretty good. I have picked against him before, and I picked against him, I think, in his last 2 fights. No, just the last fight, and I picked him in the fight before, and then he lost to David Onama. But he was competing with Gabriel Santos on the feet. If you can compete with Gabriel Santos, I think you can beat Manuel Exposito. So I'm going to take Delano. I just think he's better, and I think Exposito gets hit too much to be confident in picking him. So I'm going to take Jose Delano, round 2 knockout. Could be round 1, because I think this guy is just going to leave his head on the center line. I think he might get 1 takedown, but Delano will work back up. Even if he doesn't work back up, he'll probably reverse position at a certain point and get back up to his feet, even if it's towards the end of the round. And I just think Delano's going to use that jab, use that 1-2, cut those angles, rip those kicks to the body, but be careful with the kicks so he doesn't catch him and take him down, and just eventually knock him out. So I'm going Jose Delano to catch Manuel Exposito. I'm going to go with a round 1 knockout. I think this guy's way better than Exposito, and he's not going to be easy to get him down. If you're not getting him down, Exposito's not winning. So Jose Delano, round 1 knockout, is going to be my pick. I think he stops the takedowns, controls the range, and picks him apart at range with his combinations. So Jose Delano, round 1 knockout for the main event of Dana White Contender Series Week 2. All right, that's it from my UFC or DWCS Week 2 predictions for the 2025 season. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell, and lock up your favorite sub on that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads from the premier mixed martial arts and pro wrestling channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out.